Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to what was to be Shootin' from the Hip. But, for some odd fucking reason, my co-host can't get his shit together. I've been trying to reach him for the last hour. I'm getting a little bit frustrated. But I guess I'll try and go this alone for as long as I can. But all plans that we had for tonight are totally out the fucking window. Now, the stream looks good, but for some reason I don't see what's going on here. What the hell? This is getting ridiculous. There we go. Finally get things working right. Now you can see me. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Like I said, this was supposed to be Shooting from the Hip. I have no idea where Red Rainer is. Maybe he got scared because he was supposed to do his fantasy booking tonight for what he would be doing as Raw. So maybe he got scared. I don't know. I'm not going to talk trash about the guy. He's a pretty good cat. But I'm here. So where the fuck are you, Red? You fall asleep, you dumb bastard? Now, the plans for today. The plans for today were for him to basically do a fantasy booking of how he would have run Raw. Now, we did a brand draft where we got to choose all members within the WWE. Anyone contracted unless they're injured or if they've been released or what have you. So we already took care of that. Today was supposed to be the day Red Rainer did his show, how he would have booked Raw. But that looks like it's not going to happen, so all plans going into this are completely out the damn window. And I'm a frustrated motherfucker. Because, like I said, I'm here. So, I'm a little bit pissed off. And when I get pissed off, I want to change the things that are pissing me off. So, if that means I have to look for a new co-host, well, that's what's going to happen. And I'll speak to Red Rainer about that away from the podcast itself and in private. Because the way I look at it, we both agreed to be doing this. He came to me and wanted to do this show together because he was a newcomer to YouTube and he wanted help getting noticed, getting his name out there, and do something collaboratively. So we both ended up doing better. And I agreed to it because I like giving people an opportunity, and I'm a very new podcaster when it comes to YouTube, so I gave that opportunity to him to do this show. And when you go and neglect your responsibilities, we had this plan. We were just talking an hour ago. A fucking hour ago. I'm here. Where the fuck are you, buddy? If you're watching, I hope you can see how pissed off I truly am. So I have to figure out how I'm going to run the show tonight, because we promised the fans at least 2 hours every Thursday, and now I'm stuck doing this by myself without any real work prep besides what we had planned, and I can't go and do your bit for you. But before we get going, and I do apologize for my attitude, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors, and they are Audible. Now, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/pillar-to-post. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. So if you want wrestling-related content, say autobiographies done by AJ Lee, she just came out with a new one not so long ago, as well as you've got plenty of Mick Foley autobiographies, plus children's books that carry every genre you can think of. Take the advantage that I'm giving you and get yourself a free audiobook. Test out your services for 30 days. And if you go and end your membership, you still get to keep your free audiobook. You can quit your membership the same day and you still get your free audiobook. So, like I said, take advantage of it. Also, you can find Pillar to Post and Circle of Steel merchandise on Teespring Store. And all that is in the description below. You can find my FB merch page and my FB author page as well below. And if you want to send me a friend request, I do accept everyone that's a fan of the show. You can also find my videos on vidme.com under vid.me/pillar2post. If you want to become a Patreon, next week I begin uploading on a regular basis again to my Patreon. You can pledge as low as $1 a month, but the higher you pledge, the more rewards there is. You can find me on Twitter at pillar2post77. And if you have any questions that you want to ask that you'd like me to discuss on Pillar to Post, you can email questions or topics that you'd like me to cover at steeldragon1234@hotmail.com. Now that takes care of all that. Now, should I try calling the dumb fuck one more time? If that is you watching, please answer. Yeah, Heavyweight Mark, I am not a happy man right now, so please pick up the goddamn phone. Letting it ring, people. We are on air. Come on, man. Okay, I give up. Me and him have a discussion. We need to have a discussion away from the show. Like I said, I'm not a man that likes to be frustrated or pissed off. So when I get into that mood, I need to resolve that issue. Now, if it is getting a new co-host or making him know how upset I am right now. I don't like canceling shows. I need to give you guys something. And since I don't get to cover everything that we were planning on, I'm going to discuss some of the news that I gathered for the show. And, you know, if there's any questions in there that you guys have, please ask. Hi, Tim. How you doing? Sorry for the pissed off attitude I'm in right now. I just don't like it when plans are fucked with and promises are not met. When I make a promise to do something, I do it, and I make sure I do it the best way possible. But the way we run our show, we collaborate. And what we had discussed is that he would do his bit for his fantasy booking wrestling league today, and I would have news and such for you guys, and we were, you know, like always, discuss the issues at hand, the news at hand, and that is out the fucking window now. So if this was his plan to just not show up tonight and that's the way he wants to quit, well, I guess that's the way he's going to run it. I did try to call him earlier. I first got a busy signal, and later on he just refused to answer. But moving away from that bullshit, I'm going to move on because that's what I do here, and I will give you as good a show as I possibly can. So, today, some news out there. Sean Waltman on who Vince Russo wanted to join DX, but DX denied it. He also speaks about the Bullet Club and Scott Hall. Not much right now, Tim. Just upset. I'm supposed to have a co-host here tonight, and I don't. So, Sean Waltman spoke with Sports Illustrated's extra mustard section on a number of topics in and outside of wrestling. Here are some of the highlights from that conversation. He was asked about being a fan of the Bullet Club, and he said, "I'm a big Bullet Club fan. I'm flattered that they were inspired by us. They took our recipe, like the Young Bucks and the Too Sweet sign, but they are also distinctively Bullet Club. Even though they are adding on in numbers, they have remained fairly discriminatory in who they add. Marty Scurll is fantastic, and I am a big fan of his work. Now, they're not just throwing a Bullet Club shirt on a guy to get him over, and that's smart. They need to listen to their gut and not back down." Now, he was asked about Vince Russo wanting to add Val Venus to D-Generation X. And he answered with, Russo wanted to put Val Venus in DX. But we said no. We stuck to our guns because he wasn't right for DX. So for Bullet Club, if New Japan or Ring of Honor wants Bullet Club to do something they don't want to do, Bullet Club needs to remember this is their creation, their baby. Stick to your guns. If you feel like someone is not right, then don't let it be done. And I fully agree with that statement right there. Because in the independent circuit, it's basically left up to the wrestlers how they create themselves. Storylines are done by the company, but there is more of a creative input and creative control with your character and how you build your foundation and your clubs, like the Bullet Club, your factions. And they need to stick to their guns when it comes to new members being joined. They need to be selective. They need to be discriminatory, like the article said. You can't just let anyone in, and that's what was the downfall of the NWO. They just started collecting people. It didn't matter if they were top talent or they were mid-card or they were bottom-of-the-barrel type characters. They just started building beyond their means and without a good structure of characters in it, and it made it into a big shitstorm. And that is why the NWO failed at that time. If they would have kept it small and just let in selected characters be very discriminatory of who they chose, I think NWO would have lasted a lot longer and it would have been more interesting a lot longer. But instead, they went the opposite way and just started grabbing anyone they could, and it turned into a big pile of shit. He talks about Scott Hall helping him early on. And he goes, "I'm very grateful for Scott Hall's willingness to take me under his wing and help me. That's when our chemistry started. Scott already had me in mind when Vince McMahon ran the idea by him. Scott had seen me on ESPN with the Global Wrestling Federation. Scott was like Kurt Hennig in the sense that he'd take the younger guys under his wing and try to teach them. Now, people like to talk about Scott's selfishness, but he did a lot of selfless work in wrestling that isn't talked about. Scott was very guarded about his knowledge. He didn't share it with everyone, and that is the way the wrestling business is. You can't just share your knowledge with anyone that walks through the door, because, frankly, some of these guys could take that talent and just turn it against you. Others would benefit from it and probably waste it. So you have to be selective who you're going to share your knowledge with in the wrestling business. And Scott Hall is one of those minds that works that way. He wants the right person to take under his wing, to train them, to teach them, and to elevate them in the wrestling business. And he chose, for the most part, pretty well. Sean Waltman was a pretty big star in his time in WWE. He floundered in when it came to WCW. He had a very small character during that time in NWO, and it did nothing to make him better or elevate his character outside of WWE. Now, moving on, WWE Hall of Famer rumored to call women's tourney with Jim Ross, and that is the Mae Young Memorial Tournament, and that is the women's tournament that's coming this summer. Now, as noted, WWE this week confirmed the Mae Young Classic, a 32 women's tournament featuring wrestlers from around the world. The tournament will tape on Thursday, July 13th and Friday, July 14th at Full Sail University. WWE revealed that Hall of Famer Jim Ross will be one of the commentators for the tournament. Now, Dave Meltzer noted in his latest edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter that fellow Hall of Famer Lita is rumored to be calling the tournament with him, and I believe that is a good choice to have Lita as one of the commentators for this women's tournament. If they just had guys on the commentary, it wouldn't look right. And Lita is a very famous, very talented woman, and in my opinion, the women's division is still not quite where it was when Lita and Trish Stratus were involved. Now, we've gotten to see a lot more wrestling. A lot of the diva bullshit is gone. I like seeing that. But Lita is good for commentary for this tournament. I like hearing that. I want to see what they can do. I hope it isn't just a silly rumor, because Lita does have the talent on a mic to carry her own with Jim Ross. So, now up next, top NXT star added to WWE live events in Japan. We are also going to be discussing Chris Jericho's opponents revealed for when he returns. Now, some of this sounds a bit odd, and I found it a bit odd as well. So, I'll read it to you. Tell me what you guys think of this shit. We reported earlier this month that Chris Jericho has been added to the Raw live events in Tokyo on June 30th and July 1st at Ryogoku Sumo Hall, as well as the June 28th Raw live event in Singapore at Singapore Indoor Stadium. Now, Jericho will be facing Hideo Itami at the June 30th event, while he will wrestle Dean Ambrose, Finn Balor, and The Miz in a fatal four-way for Miz's Intercontinental Championship the following night. So is that a spoiler? Is Miz going to be winning the Intercontinental title at Extreme Rules? It sure as hell sounds like it here. They've already got him booked as the Intercontinental Champion for June 30th. So it's a little bit of a spoiler there. Now, Asuka has been added to the tour as well and will be replacing Mickie James. She will be teaming with Bayley and Sasha Banks to take on Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, and Emma on both nights. Goldust and R-Truth are also currently scheduled to team together to face Bo Dallas and Titus O'Neil on both nights. That's odd because Goldust and R-Truth just recently split as a tag team, Goldust attacking R-Truth on Monday Night Raw. And he just recently shot a promo as well as a singles competitor, doing a throwback to his original Goldust character when he first debuted in WWE. So it's a little bit odd that they're making these bookings. I know schedules and stuff are to change, but this seems a little bit too advanced, and with current things happening, it's like they totally ignored it. Now I'm going to tell you, June 30th, this is what's being booked in Japan. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt and Samoa Joe. So that's a match we just recently seen. Dean Ambrose versus The Miz with Maurice for the IC Championship. Finn Balor versus Carl Anderson with Luke Gallows in his corner. Now, we also seen that on Raw this week as well. Chris Jericho versus Hideo Itami. Should be a good match. Hideo Itami is an exceptional talent in that ring. Enzo and Big Cass will face Sheamus and Cesaro. And Neville versus Austin Aries versus Akira Tozawa for the Cruiserweight Championship is also supposed to go down. My coffee cup is in the living room, sweetheart. And like I said earlier, Goldust and R-Truth are scheduled to face Bo Dallas and Titus O'Neil. Now, we haven't seen Bo Dallas in the ring for many months, and Titus O'Neil is playing the agent currently, so that makes no sense as well. We've got Asuka, Bayley, and Sasha Banks facing Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax with Emma. So Emma will be back from her injury by that point. So The bookings are a bit strange. I find it a little bit odd. For July 1st, it'll be Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt. Dean Ambrose will face Chris Jericho, Finn Balor, and The Miz for the IC Championship. So twice the IC title will be defended in Japan. Seth Rollins will face Samoa Joe. Big Cass will face Cesaro. Akira Tozawa and Hideo Itami will face Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. I'm not sure how that match is going to look. Akira Tozawa and Hideo Itami, not sure if they've got any connection, but we'll see. Neville versus Austin Aries for the Cruiserweight Championship once again. So we're going to see that match again. Goldust and R-Truth will face Bo Dallas and Titus O'Neil. And Asuka, Bayley, and Sasha Banks will face Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, and Emma once again. So those are the matches they've pre-booked. Now, like I said, they are subject to change, like we all know. But it seems odd that they would book Goldust and R-Truth again once they've already split up. Bo Dallas and Titus O'Neil, odd combination. And Seth Rollins and Samoa Joe, we've seen them face each other many times. But the IC title bit, they have it on The Miz during the show here that they're talking about. So it seems a bit odd to me. Now, up next, we've got an update on Emma's injury and her WWE return. Now, Emma is expected to be cleared to return to action in mid-June. Now, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, Emma suffered a shoulder injury at a WWE live event earlier this month on May 7th in Liverpool, England. She was teaming with Raw Women's Champion Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax against Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Mickie James. She took a bad landing on her right shoulder after a double knee drop from Sasha on the turnbuckle, which caused the referee to throw the X signal and have the match stopped early. Now, Emma had returned to action on television last month on the April 3rd episode of Raw. She had suffered a back injury last May and was scheduled to return as Emelina earlier this year. The gimmick was dropped the day it was scheduled to debut this past February, and she reverted back to her Emma character. So, that is basically it. She's scheduled to return for June. She's been taking a lot of injuries as of late. Now, I can try Red Rainer once again and see if he's actually ready, but I'm sorry, folks, there's no fucking news on wrestling at all really out there today. So, trying to do a 2-hour show. If you guys have any questions, please ask away. I don't mind answering. Frankly, I'm just a little bit upset with this turn of events with my co-host. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I've tried every 10 minutes for I don't know how long. I'm down to one watching now because of this bullshit. And I was expecting this to be a lot bigger show. So, I'm going to have a cigarette here. If anyone's got a question, please ask away. And accept my apologies for the show. It should have been a hell of a lot better. But when plans get fucked around, this is what happens. You end up with a fucked up situation that is hard to come back from. Now, like I said, I really don't know what to discuss. So if there's any questions out there, please ask. It is about all I can do at this point. Now, what did you guys think about Monday Night Raw this week? I can ask you guys a question. I'm not really sure what to call what's going on anymore. It's been pretty fucked up. You know what? I might as well go over what we did for the brand draft. Now, the brand draft included the UK crew, the NXT crew, SmackDown, and Raw. And we did our brand draft already. And ended up being on a messed up night of YouTube where we couldn't stay on stream. But while I'm at it, I might as well push the book. This is the Circle of Steel Chronicles Book 1, titled Dragon's Kin. And it is my novel that was recently published at the end of last year. Let me see if I can get the glare out of there. And maybe you guys can see it a little bit better. Now, I'm very proud of my accomplishment. You can find it on Amazon. I believe it's for, I think $27. I think that's what they're selling it for. I'm not happy with that price. So if you want to purchase a copy from me, it's automatically signed, and I don't charge more than $20. So that is when you order from me. Now, if I have to ship it, I do charge shipping. But I'll show it one more time. When you get it from me, it is a signed copy. This is my book, Dragon's Kin. And it is fantasy fiction. It's an adventure book. And very proud of it. And like I said, if you're interested, contact me on through my email, which is in the description below, steeldragon1234@hotmail.com. You'll get a signed copy. And like I said, if you live far away, then I am going to charge shipping, but it will be $20 for the book itself. I don't charge for my autograph. I think that's just stupid. And that's it there. Now, there are some things changing here on Shooting from the Hip. Actually, not Shooting from the Hip, Pillar to Post. That is the channel that you're watching right now, is Pillar to Post. And number one thing is I'm moving into a studio in the basement. It'll be a lot better for me. It'll be a lot better scenery behind me. I'll be able to put up some of my wrestling memorabilia, and it'll just look better than seeing a freezer, a washing machine, a dryer, and laundry equipment. Other than that, the layout's going to change a little bit. My graphics are going to be a little bit better. This stuff was mainly thrown together today. And it is what it is, Let's see. Do you see what happening now like the NWO in... Do you see that happening now like the NWO in WWE? No. I don't see a faction like the NWO being built up in WWE. They're steering clear of that stuff, and I don't know why. It was some of the most entertaining television we've seen from WWE back in that era when they had the factions. We had Farouk's team. We had the Ministry of Darkness. We had the Los Boricuas, DX. We had so many factions back then, and it made it entertaining. And for some reason, they steer clear of factions these days, and it doesn't make sense to me. Because right now, they have the opportunity to reform the Shield, as well as the Bullet Club within WWE. They could simply structure it as the Balor Club, since, the Bullet Club is in the Indies. They could simply just name it the Balor Club here in WWE. But they're steering clear of it. Now, there was a rumor that Triple H was going to be starting a faction, and two of those members were supposed to be Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens. But then they had the impromptu wrestler, the Superstar shakeup, and that was all kind of ruined right from there because Kevin Owens ended up on SmackDown instead of Raw. And then we end up getting all members of the Shield put on Monday Night Raw, which there's a good opportunity to really bring those guys back together to fight, say, a Balor Club or any other faction. And for some reason, it's not happening. So it doesn't really make sense to me because they know it's entertaining television, but they steer clear from it. There's no rhyme or reason to the way WWE runs these days. It's all seat of the pants kind of moments, you know, even leading up into WrestleMania this year and the year before and the year before that, there was so many last minute changes to the show that it was ridiculous. It was just it completely ruined shit, the way they're running things, the way they're booking. And they don't have bookers anymore. They have the creative team, which is a bunch of Hollywood script writers. And so that's why you get some of the characters you get now. They're not connecting with the fans because of this. And it's Vince McMahon's, you know, I'm going to say his old age. You know, I'm not thinking he grasped the concept of what people are looking for in wrestling today. So you've got this PG era bullshit that doesn't make sense. And then on top of that, it's rated PG, but we're not supposed to talk about it on YouTube because we get our ads removed from our podcast due to this, because it's classified as violent and restricted content. But yeah, it's rated PG, and we're not showing the wrestling matches while we're doing these podcasts, yet we take it in the ass because we're talking about a violent television show, which, if you've watched wrestling as of late, looks so much more fake than it ever did in its history of wrestling before. But we get penalized for wanting to discuss wrestling, the history of wrestling, and what's going on now, and the rumors. To me, it makes no sense. But I've gone for half an hour without a co-host. I've got no more news. I'm going to apologize to those that have wanted to tune in. I have seen, I don't know how many times people came into the chat, or not the chat, but the stream, and left right away because they seen the show isn't going as it was supposed to. I'm going to call it a night because, like I said, I'm in a pissed off state of mind. And Red Rainer, if you're watching this later on after you wake up or whatever the fuck you're doing right now, me and you need to have a talk. And you better hope to God I'm not in the same state of mind I'm in right now, because I'll cut your son bitch loose, you know? I don't respect people that play me like this, and right now you don't have much of my respect. So, to the fans, thank you for watching. I do apologize once again. I'm calling it a night, and I'm gonna sit and relax and drink a little bit of booze and watch some television, because tonight was totally fucked around for me. And I'm not going to do a podcast while I'm pissed off. So you guys have a good night. Like I said, thank you very much for joining me. And sorry about the way the show turned out. You guys have a good night.